All right, everyone, welcome to today's Help Me Rhonda show. Now, I've got something really special today. You know, I talk often about sexy brands, right? Those that know who they are, know what they do, and they want to leave an impact on the world with their gifts. Well, today you're going to be blown away because I have one of the most unbelievable deep spirits, a musician, someone that is taking his, not only his internal energy of who he is and the work that he's pulled from not only ancestors, but from indigenous cultures, and is bringing it into his music. Everyone, I want to introduce today my guest, Ryan Whitewolf. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, I am so glad that you are here. First off, I could not start without actually addressing what we just did before we started the show. It's funny because I was, sitting here and I have all the things prepared that I'm ready to say, and we did this unbelievable prayer and chant that you delivered. I think the whole set kind of calmed down and everything went from my mind. However, nonetheless, I think that it's appropriate timing. So can you share a little bit about what you actually just did so that we can start digging into a little bit deeper of who and what you are and what you believe in?
Completely.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, especially like this opportunity right now, it's sort of like a prayer and a ceremony. And especially when we're working with so many technology and lights and all of this, there can be so many subtleties and nuances in the air. And then so I wanted to have a prayer and I have like a permission. I didn't want like my subconscious or what I think I should say be speaking. I wanted to like ask permission for the earth and for the ancestors to be like, hey, I want to speak with that love like that. And so I was, praying to the directions and to Mother Earth and to all, just giving gratitude for all the forces that give us life, so I could come into that frequency of that love, so that I could speak from love right now.
Wow, well, you're doing that. And, I can feel the difference in this set than I've probably ever had. And so why don't you tell me a little bit about your background, how this all came about? Because, you're using a lot of words that most people just don't talk about, right? Especially in music. You're speaking about coming from their heart and praying to Mother Earth. Where did this come from for you? Like, where did you start? Like, how did you grow up? Let's start there in your background. And then into how music really entered into your life.
Yeah. Well, would love to share. Well, firstly, I just want to reflect on, what you said about, the different wording and the language used. So like, prayer can have quite a lot of perception within different cultures and religions and such like that. I like to think of it as our ancestors for thousands of years have used music, songs, words to as a way to give back to Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Because Mother Earth, the water, the elements, they're giving us the opportunity to live and to breathe every moment. Yeah. We're so gifted to receive this life. And so music can be used as that opportunity to say, thank you, to give back.
Yeah.
To give back. It's and then you can just see from how we're treating the water and the land and all these different aspects there's definitely a unconscious form of abuse there and of a taking. So the ancestors and the different indigenous cultures, they're very much about that balance with the natural world to make sure that we always give back.
Yeah, and I think it's, especially in music, like if you think about the way the direction of music has gone, and we're going to talk about this because I know you've entered into some high level spaces of like big mass, music and decided to take a shift. How did you start? Like, where was your background as a child? Like, tell us about your family and your parents. Were they, indigenous families? Like, how did you become part of this culture?
Well, yeah, I guess music was that opportunity in that form to really connect because I had a pretty intense childhood. I was taken away from my mother at a bus stop at 6 weeks old.
Oh.
And then I was taken into a foster family. And then my foster father, he wasn't very connected to his culture, but he was indigenous of Australia. And he was born on the exact same day as me and with the exact same birth name. And we didn't actually know that until I found my birth certificate at the age of 4. So they already had, and they had so many foster children coming through their house. And then I was pretty much one of the only ones that they were we're going to keep him and help him. And I was so sick. So sick.
How old were you?
6 weeks old. And so
tell us about that. What happened?
I was on 3 different cribs, vomiting and diarrhea, and detoxing because, my mother did some forms of substances while I was in the womb. And then, she had multiple personalities and schizophrenia and all of these different aspects. So the police saw that and took me away, which I'm very grateful. But I'm so grateful for my mother. You know, she gave me this. She gave me life. Like I can't hold. You know, she gave me the greatest gift.
Yeah.
Gave me the greatest gift. And then maybe that also reflected in like now in my adult life. You know, my mother going through such a strong process and trauma. Why, you know, as that reflection, as the mother, as the earth, like why I have so much purpose and focus on singing for Mother Earth and for that healing for the mother, for the mothers to remember how sacred they are. The importance of taking care of the children and the women, which has been an importance for thousands of years in all indigenous cultures, and we're all from indigenous cultures.
Yeah.
So then, you know, I grew up and it was really beautiful. So then I was accepted as indigenous within Australia, within the schools, and, you know, got to attend those ceremonies. And then, you know, and then when I met up with my mother at a later age, she said my father was from South America. So it was like this bridging consciousness, which I made my way to the Amazon and deep into Mexico and Central.
Well, I want to highlight this a bit because, you know, many people, you can just kind of, you know, pass over the fact that, you know, that you were, you know, found at 6 weeks old and you were picked up by another family, you know, so you've got now your mother who was found not necessarily fit to take care of you. You have a whole foster family taking care of you. How was that for you growing up, right? Knowing, like, when did you find out that you know, were in a foster, you know, family, and how was that for you? Because it sounds like you leveraged it for goodness where others could have really turned it on a bad side.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people do turn it on the bad side. And of course, like, it affected me when I was a child. Like now I've seen the absolute gifts as it. But that's a big thing, is like, you know, the sense of comparison. Yeah, right. Comparing our lives to others. Yeah, you know, and that's what brings a lot of the sense of suffering. So, you know, when I was a child, I was like, oh, you know, I want to have, but at the same time, you know, we can compare ourselves, you know, the children in Africa that are starving and dying every day and all of these different aspects. But how are you as a young guy? Like, you're still quite young, but you were really young then. So how do you all of a sudden find this sense of self? And, you know, now you're no longer, you're not blaming, you're actually thriving through it. Like, was it music? Like, what really found you, you know, that helped you get through those times? Because I think subconsciously, whether we want to say it or not, consciously, you maybe say it wasn't affecting you, but there's definitely some deep traumas, I'm sure, that was inside. No, it was affecting me. That's what I said. As a child, it was deeply affecting me. Then I found music at the age of 12. Okay. And music, I just started playing like music 12 hours a day. And I just go into this zone and this form of consciousness and just feel absolute connection. And then it was that opportunity to be able to like transform and transmute and articulate my emotions. You know, I think a lot of us, we're just not taught in school how to express emotion, especially being a young male. So then having music, which is such a socially accepted form and modality of expressing emotion, having that, and then just like for hours each and every day, just expression and expression, diving deeper and deeper into myself, diving deeper and deeper into the trauma, you know, and then finding that way to turn that, you know, into its gold. You know, sometimes our traumas will reveal our greatest gifts. So then when that started giving me healing and I started feeling deeper and deeper connection, and of course my foster family and more of like that indigenous, like ancestral lineage, being surrounded by that. And then I started realizing that my music was bringing like that sense of connection and healing for others as well, especially when I started traveling. So it was music that I, you know, especially when I was a teenager, I said music is the thing that saved me. What was the path that music took you on? Like, where did you go? You started to travel in the streets. You said you were playing music on the streets. Like, music started to guide you. Was it did you feel like you were on that like that warrior's journey, or were you trying to find your way? Like, how did that enter in for you? Yeah, I guess it's just like, where did music take you? It's just like such a sophisticated, beautiful journey. You know, it's like so many things I could say, but I'll definitely start with, you know, I went to music university from like 17 to 19. Yeah. And then something just like cracked in my spirit. Like something just like awoke. And then I started hitchhiking thousands of kilometers through Australia and through North America. with just like I had like 2 pairs of clothes, a guitar amplifier, and then a tent and a sleeping bag for like 2 years.
Wow.
Because I was like, I'm gonna face everything that I'm afraid of. So then I started like living in my car, and then I was like street performing, and sometimes like 12 hours on the street. And there was like times where I had like over 200 people blocking the streets and the police officers trying to come in and arrest me. And it was just wild. And then I'm like, I have a lot of my guitar from like playing, because I played that like slap percussion style when I was street performing. And it was just like something in me that was like, I just want to, like, I don't know. I just, this wilderness.
Like made you alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then just finding myself sleeping in like forests and then this. And then that was, in that time was when I started meeting different indigenous elders.
Talk about that. Like, what is that like to meet an indigenous elder? I mean, I think most of the world has no idea even what that means.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Especially
in the Australian culture, right? Were you traveling? Is it like, were you going outback? Like, how did you find these people?
I was going in the outback.
Yeah.
Alice Springs in the middle of Australia in the desert. I spent time with like 3 different indigenous cultures of Australia. But I think that's the thing that a lot of us are lost in society, is like our sense of elders, the ones that maintain the wisdom. Yeah, it's just like, and now people are just going back and forward thinking they know what's up, and there's and that's the humbling thing of when you start visiting these indigenous cultures, and then you start realizing how much you don't know. That's a humbling thing. Yeah. So I started enjoying like, okay, I want to be humbled more and more. Like, show me. And then every time that I thought that I knew something, it was like just the tip of the iceberg. Like, we're talking like thousands of years of unbroken lineage. And then like the perception of society trying to like perceive them as savages and all of these different things. And then you start to hear the stories of what actually happening with the colonialists, and it was pretty horrific how the actions were treated. But they saw me, and then it's not that I don't know why, but they pretty much
brought you in.
They brought me in. Yeah. I had many different opportunities, and then it was quite full on, the invitations. And they saw a young, wild, like I was wild back then. Like, you think I'm wild now? I was like,
you're like raw nature boy, yeah?
I was
wild. I mean, you
wild.
still don't wear shoes, so that's still appropriate, right? Still all works. You're still the same.
Like,
you're a little softer around your edges.
No, come on,
I love it. Okay, so here you find yourself in these indigenous, tribes, and they're taking you in. But I remember hearing that you all of a sudden found yourself in Bel Air in Los Angeles. Now, how do you go from being in the outback, working with indigenous tribes, to all of a sudden now you're in one of the most wealthiest cities in the world, in Los Angeles? How did that happen, and what happened while you were there?
I found myself, so I already went to Sedona, Arizona, I went to Colombia, I climbed the mountains to go see the Kogi people. Some very full power things happened there. And I was just like following my dreams and intuition and just finding myself in very full power situations. And that was just like the beginning, And then I found myself in Australia, and then I was invited to this elders gathering called the Eagle Quetzal Condor Gathering. There's a prophecy of this ancient prophecy that they said there will be 500 years of darkness, and then the eagle and the condor will fly within the same sky, and then the earth will reawaken. And so I've written many songs about this because it's got this deep, resonating, energetic, and it's about like the different, what they call like the altars, or you can say like the different cultures, the elders from all different nations of North, Central, and South America coming together for that energy to like share around the planet. And also they see the eagle as the mind, the North, the masculine, and then the condor is the feminine, South America. So, it's like the heart and the mind, the masculine and the feminine coming into unity. So there's been many gatherings to fulfill this prophecy, and many different indigenous elders, especially of the Americas, coming together to unite in prayer. So there was a big one happening in Sedona, and then I was invited to play some music for it. And then I remember being in Australia in Bondi, and I was just like street performing, and I was like, I got to get, I even had a dream of like, I had a dream of these elders singing in this like ocean of like rainbow energy. It was like wisdom consciousness, like overflowing the earth. And I woke up, and I had like a week and a half to get there. Oh no, I had like 2 weeks and a half to get there. And then, but I had like no cash. I'm just like, oh man, I'm gonna have to like street perform like crazy. And then something was happening. Sometimes when I was street performing, I was like getting like loads of abundance, but it was just like, it just wasn't flowing.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to, it was like the street performing identity it
was almost
wasn't my
blocking
path.
it.
Yeah, it just wasn't my
Yeah.
path anymore. Then I met a dear brother of mine, a dear brother. He looked me in the eyes. It's such a funny and wild story, you know what I mean? It's like this guy is very, very deeply connected, and he's an amazing man. You know, he was the grandson of one of the prime ministers of Australia, and captain of the football team of Australia in the past. And he saw me, and then he had a psychic a month before saying a wolf will come into your life, and no matter what, you have to follow him. So he met me. We had a connection, and I didn't really think too much about it. And then one of his friends shared one of my songs onto his Facebook wall out of nowhere. A couple of hours later, it said, White Wolf. It's like, okay. And then he found me that night, and he just like,
he's like, you're my sign.
no. He was just like, no, but there was a deep brotherhood.
Yeah, right.
And then he was like, what's your plans? Like, and I told him all about the elders gathering and the dream. And he was like, I'll buy you a ticket if I can come with you. So I was like, sure. I was like, yeah, and he was very connected to already the people in LA.
Yeah.
Where I found myself pretty much, barefoot, barely ever wearing any shirt, 2 pairs of clothes. And then suddenly, like a week and a half later, I'm like living in Bel Air. And then this is when I found a really good friend of mine, Paolo. And he's like helping me a lot with the music right now.
Mm.
He's been a big believer since the first day I met him, and I just performed for him. And he's like, okay. And then he started weekly showcases for some of the heads of the industry.
Mm.
He used to come in and have a lot of prejudgments, like who's this guy, like it's like Bel Air,
Yeah, we got this
billionaires,
raw,
like,
kind of wild guy coming in, and
and then
like,
here I am, but
oh.
I was like, they'd be like, are you a mushroom designer? They're like trying to, but no, but because Paolo was so respected as well, they're
right.
like, okay,
what's going on?
What's going on here?
He's bringing some real stuff here.
And then, and then I'd be performing, and then they'd all be, a lot of them would be crying afterwards, and I'd get a lot of beautiful feedback. And this is when I was like, I guess 21, 22. And then, so anyway, then I got this opportunity, I started getting all these different opportunities back then.
Because you know that your music is healing. I mean, you are being considered and called a musician for Mother Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that means that you're truly, your words, your voice, the energy that you come from is healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so here you are in front of these, very well-known people, and you're starting to transform their life just through your music.
Yeah.
Right?
And the healing thing about that is it's just, my music is just like my expression for how much I love Mother Earth.
Mm.
And I don't care where you're from, but all of us used to do that.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's 100 years ago. I don't care if it's 1,000, 2,000 years ago. Whatever your ancestry come from, like we used to sing songs and really love Mother Earth. Now we're so distracted. A lot of people think they're above Mother Earth, They don't even think about Mother Earth.
Well, I mean, imagine that's it.
That creates a lot of the suffering. So,
so here you're in the space, though.
My music every day, all the time, is to say, I love you, Mother Earth. So yeah, I was coming in there, like, so that like people approach me, you're like some form of a healer, you're some form of this. And I'm just like, no, I'm just a man that loves Mother Earth.
Yeah.
I just love Mother Earth so much.
Well, that area is used to seeing and listening to the type of music that doesn't necessarily speak about healing Mother Earth. They think about taking, hurting, right? Like the things that area is used to hearing was very polarizing.
Yeah.
So now here you are, you've got these people, they're leaning in, they're listening, you're touching their spirit and their soul, and you get offered to start producing music, but you didn't stay. You went directly into the Amazon. What happened there?
Yeah. No, this is when I went to Mexico.
Or to Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I ended up finding myself in a songwriting studio. And there was producers and songwriters. It was just like it was an opportunity. I started getting different opportunities, but this was the opportunity to open my eyes. This was that opportunity. Because I went into this songwriting studio. They're like, we really want to work with you. I'm like so innocent. I'm like, wow, like imagine like, yes. But I'm not even thinking like, I think maybe a lot of people like, yeah, I want to make music and make a lot of money and I don't, it's like, I want to share love with as many, like back then, especially. Now I actually don't even mind. I just like to sing for nature. It's like if people are there or not, it's like, it's like I'm always doing it anyway, it's
Must have an audience.
So yeah, and then they show me all the songs and they got like 500 million hits on YouTube and this and that. They're big time songwriters and producers. And then they were like, but we really want to work with you, but if you want to work with us, you have to work with us our way. He's like, we know all the algorithms, rhythms, melodies, and arrangement on how to control people's minds. And we've been doing it for many years. We don't even like the music we make, but we've been doing this. And then I was like looking at him and I could see like this, it was like a dark studio. And I could see. And then that's when I realized that my innocence was actually ignorance. I wasn't ready. And then I found myself in this prayer and in this moment, I had this message that I had to contact this elder from Mexico. She bought me a plane ticket pretty much 2 days later. And I went down to Mexico and I had a very deep connection with the lineages of Mexico. Deep, deep, deep connection with the lineages of Mexico. And then that's when my journey deepened, when it felt like a fork in the road. And then so it was like, okay. And then I'm just like, no. Fuck that. And like the thing is, like a lot of people do that in a conscious way.
Yeah.
And it's like, we got to wake up. Like, where are our morals? Where are our standards? And that's what I share a lot. Like, a lot of music is so much about, the objectification of the feminine, all of these deep programmed layers, which are just separating us and creating so much suffering. And we are what we listen to. But so we need the opportunity to analyze, like, really what we're taking in within, the visual aspects with media and then music as well. And it's just a simple question of like, how much do we love ourselves? Because if we love ourselves, we're going to take care of ourselves. And then we got to look at our morals of like, how the indigenous cultures worked, even matriarch societies. There was a lot of advanced civilization with matriarch societies. And now it feels like we're coming to, like, I'm praying for men and women to come and work together and just honor each other like that. But right now we need the brothers to really like look at the weaving of and the tapestry and the programming of the objectification of the feminine, and remember how we used to honor the women and the children as some of like the greatest values and treasures, because they were giving life. We came from women. You know what I mean? So and then that's just a reflection of us honoring Mother Earth like that. Until we fix our relationship with the subconscious, like the sexual distortion, the objectification of the feminine, until we fix that, we're not gonna take care of Mother Earth. And as normal time, we've been lazy. We have been lazy, all of us. And and that's what my elders would dig into me. They're like, you're either a part of the change or a part of the problem. So ask yourself honestly, like, which one are you? And that's what I mean. Like, it's intense in the forest. It's intense in the desert. Like, there was very full power ceremonies that would humble you and humble you and humble you. And you ask yourself that question: am I being that change? How do I look at the women in my life? Even if a woman just walks into a cafe, like, what's my first thought within that? A lot of people are just so programmed to just like want something from someone, like wants. And then that's where it comes into the sense of like how programmed we are of like, we think giving is investing. So every time like, we give to someone, we have this subconscious expectation of like wanting something from them. We're just coming in a culture of taking. That's why I'm saying like water, food, this, and it's just like, it's like this disease of self-importance. And it's like, how about we just get over ourselves for a moment?
Yeah.
Say thank you to the water. Say thank you to the elements. Say thank you to that. How about like that beautiful, gorgeous woman that's walking in, or like, or for the woman's end, that beautiful, gorgeous man that's walking in. How about we don't just turn them into an object in the moment and say, I want this? How do we just like come into presence and come into that clarity and say, just honor beauty?
How do you think people can do that? Because I think this message is so well deserving to be heard. However, there might be a man watching you now going, right, bro, how would I do that? Like, how do you got in contact with your spirit and yourself through the ancestors and the elders and, and really grounding and humbling yourself. But what does society do now if they're navigating through these normal, this pressure that they've got? What would you say to, a man right now that's thinking, okay, good for you, not for me?
Yeah, well, I'm not here to like, it's just like people can choose whatever they want. But, I think it is that opportunity of like, we're coming into a time.
Well, what do you think will happen if they do it? Like, what's the loss, right? If they don't.
If they don't what?
If our society doesn't wake up, right? You said you can choose. However, there's quite a bit of a loss if we don't actually wake up.
Yeah.
If we allow,
there's
right?
a massive,
there's a responsibility right now, actually.
No, it's a deep responsibility. And you see it coming up within society, within all of the topics and all of the things that are coming up for healing.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it is that question, like, what are we going to do? Are we the change, And then it's also like, for myself, I've had so many different physical experiences with, different elders and them sharing like this time right now, like it's the most full power intense time that we've ever encountered as a human being, as humanity, as a universe. Like the alignment of what's happening right now, like that's the thing I can only share. Like, there's so much that has been told, and then it just sort of like cracks into you that it's like, this isn't a game. Like I have to work on myself in every moment and work on myself in every day. Not through guilt, not through this, not through repression, but through the sense of just like discipline.
Yeah. So I want to ask you this. What would you say to the men of the world right now? Like the average society? What is your message to men to how they can help shift and make a difference and not follow this, average mundane way of living?
Well, yeah, it just comes to that, doing our homework every moment, every day, bettering ourselves as human beings. And I think we haven't had the right elders to have that guidance, which is why I went into the indigenous cultures to become a student and to learn from those elders that do have that wisdom, But there are many different ways, but I think it's just, just tapping into deeper awareness.
Do you think that most, men and women alike, it's just not the discipline, they just haven't had the guidance? Like it's almost like we've lost our way.
We've had an
right?
We've had an attachment to comfort.
What do you mean by that?
We live in a society where we just desire comfort, and the world isn't meant to, like, we're not meant to desire comfort, which comes from a sense of control as well. But what are we even controlling? And so we just get comfortable in our own little bubble. How are we meant to grow like that? How are we meant to grow? Like, let's push those edges. And then, a lot of people, they're just watching media and TV and then music and whatever's fed to them, and they get comfortable. And I think that's lazy. I think we should be able to question everything, and question more than what's happened in the last 120 years. And let's go to the thousands of years of different indigenous cultures and weavings, and just
Is this what you learned? I mean, you were in Mexico, and you're learning from these elders. Like, what is this? What came from that? Like, tell us more about what you learned while you were there. I mean, you went from LA, right? Now you're back in, with these tribes. Like, what did you really learn? Like, where's this information? Where's it taking you?
So so now we're back at like the age 22, so then LA and then Mexico, and then that's when I really started deeply dedicating myself to the indigenous wisdom and these different tribes, and being invited to, tribes all through the Amazon, Mexico, Colombia. And I'm feeling very, very grateful for the teachers and elders that have brought me in. It is that opportunity to give back, that opportunity to purify, to really actually understand how much backwards we've learned everything in society, and how humbling that is. And then somehow sharing that in a way through the love of Mother Earth. I don't want to be too something like it can be confronting. It's like, okay, I mean, everything I learned in school and all of these, the different sense of morals and, the things that I'm learning from media and the music and the TV shows that have been programming since the age of 4 that I've been watching, and you know, people don't even realize how much it's affecting them, but it pulls this massive mirror of how backwards it all is. And then when you're just in nature, and then some of these opportunities with the elders, you're like days, no food, no water, just in the middle of the desert or in the middle of the forest. Or they put you through these processes to purify and to have that mirror to unweave that, you know, that programming, and to make yourself question yourself, like, you know, what is your internal compass? Like, what is your intention? That's it. And bringing sovereignty to our consciousness, you know, what is our attachments? What's stopping us from being within that presence? You know, what are our traumas? Like the women that, you know, had broken up or cheated or this, or, you know, like what is bringing us from that present moment? Because until I can just sit in nature, in complete silence and peace, then I'm not controlling my mind, but my mind is controlling me. And I need to be the captain of my own ship.
Explain what that's like, these moments, because I don't think anyone can even visualize what you were doing. Like physically explain what was your experience like.
Mm-hmm.
No food, no water. Like what goes through your mind at this time? You're 22 years old. Most 22-year-old guys are out partying and picking up chicks. And here you are hanging out in.
Yeah, so it was a process that would have been like more 24, 20. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's the deep dive. It's definitely the deep dive. But at the same time, in indigenous cultures, it's so normal for younger men and younger women to do these different things. It's just in society, we're just like, wow, you know, like, you know, how it is physically. That's okay. So this is actually the biggest lesson in there.
Yeah.
When you're like, this is what I mean by prayer as well, is that discipline to use your mind as sort of like it's like a frequency knob, television, you know? This is like what even the high priests teach me in Bali. And, you know, I have many beautiful teachers around the planet. But if you're thinking about, I'm thirsty, I'm tired, I'm hungry, you're not going to make it, you know? And this is the thing, like those thoughts, those dialogues, maybe they're not even us. It controls us.
Mm-hmm.
And once we realize that actually all we are is light and energy and consciousness, and those subconscious dialogues and those frequencies and those filters are what's separating us from the earth and from the universe, then we can start unweaving that, breaking that. And we can only break that through our willpower and our focus. We become warriors of love for Mother Earth like that. So we have to like unweave those layers. So then it's just homework and keep doing it. You know, I'm hungry, or I'm this, or this happened to me when I was sick, you know, and you just start to discipline the mind until it just becomes an every moment and everyday thing. And then that silence becomes like everything. Like, and then we can start working from that present state rather than whatever that is, whatever's being told to me that I need to do, you know? And that's what I want to bring in my music now. So now, like through all of that process and having amazing teachers, and just through seeing them just sing and share with so much love and so much beauty for Mother Earth, and just their absolute dedication, not to get money for this, not to get that, no. It's like, what? Like maybe that can be like an outcome, but the focal point is like, okay, I'm gonna like do this for Mother Earth, no matter what, and be solid like an anchor like that, with that silence. Because if you're in that silence and that presence, it's not like, oh, I want to get all this fame. And like, it's just ego. That's what we're being taught. That's what we're being taught. And that's a beautiful thing. I'm not saying like they're beautiful things, but if you're going to compromise integrity for those things, like it ain't worth it. That's where we got to ask ourselves again, how much do I love myself? And so now, you know, I'm having this beautiful opportunity. I have my dream producer. We're about to like go record this dream album. I've like found myself like deep, you know, with the people of the forest and different indigenous cultures around the planet. And now it's come to the point where I had this deep message that now it's time to share that message and that music again. So now I'm about to record this album, and I'm very, very grateful. So yeah.
Wow, it's really beautiful, and I appreciate you sharing so much, because it's really, probably not for you, but I think for most people, it's really hard and challenging to actually truly share the depths of their beliefs and what has shifted their world. And I think that we need to have this conversation. It's a bigger conversation, and it has to be infiltrated through every, television, if you will, because, TV's come out, it just stops us and it just numbs our brain, right? We stopped looking at television 10, 15 years ago because we were aware, but the rest of the world is not. So thank you for sharing that. You're saying that now the music is coming out. So you're now using your music as a way to get this message out. What is it about your music? If you were to explain to, those that are looking for this album, what can they expect? What's going to come from it?
Just a big love bomb from my girl, what to expect. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's just it's I've been articulating from composing for quartets and all of these different aspects. My whole journey of existence is going to be accumulated into this album. Just to say a big thank you, I love you to my brother, and then I hope that it very much inspires my brothers and sisters on this earth to just unite in that way, feel that love. Yeah. Hopefully inspire them to give that love to Mother Earth.
This is almost like your gift to society that says, I took a stand and I was that man that went through it, the discipline and the elders and the time. I mean, really, if you would say it, many would say it was suffering. And all of a sudden now you're representing this all in your music. And so now that message gets to come through and translate through to them and through to the world. So I'm honored to be able to learn about this. And I know that you've changed my path, the way I see things, the way my daughter sees things, just being in your space. Like, wow, here I think I'm disciplined, but man, that takes a lot of true dedication and love for the things that you truly believe in and the values you have. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being part of our life. Thank you for sharing with my audience. And where can they find you right now? Or do you work on social media, Spotify? Okay.
Whitewolf.
Okay. So look up Whitewolf on Spotify. I know your music is definitely there. You hang out on Instagram a bit. You're sharing a lot that's going on.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that everyone gets access to how to find you, because I know that you're going to really inspire more people. Thank you for that, from the bottom of my heart.
You're amazing.
Well, guys, I don't know about you, but I've got a lot of things to think about. Imagine yourself being able to shift the consciousness, shift everything about what you thought that you knew, the way that you navigate through life. I'm a mother. This conversation for me is like a mirror of who are you being, not only for yourself, for your child, but now for Mother Earth. I want you to think, how can you shift right now in what you're doing just to make a difference, to be someone that is more dedicated to changing the way the world is navigating? So I'm going to leave you with this. One last thing. If you're going to create a brand, create a sexy brand. And if you're going to be anything, be unstoppable. We'll see you next week.